Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious and controversial places on Earth, the enigmatic North Sentinel Island. Now, if you've never heard of it before, you might be wondering why this place is so intriguing. But trust me, once you learn what goes on there and why it's one of the most isolated and dangerous places on the planet, you'll understand why it's captured the imagination of so many people. For those of you who aren't familiar, North Sentinel Island is part of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are located in the Bay of Bengal, but it's so isolated that it's virtually untouched by modern civilization. What makes this island unique, though, is its inhabitants, the Sentinelese people. They are among the last uncontacted tribes in the world, and they've had very little, if any, interaction with the outside world. In fact, they're known for their hostility toward anyone who tries to approach the island. They have actively repelled visitors with violent force, which has led the Indian government to establish strict laws to protect their isolation. The mystery surrounding North Sentinel Island is fascinating, but it's also deeply rooted in questions about ethics, respect for indigenous peoples, and the consequences of modern exploration on societies that have lived untouched for millennia. Now, before we dive deeper, let me give you a disclaimer. We need to approach this subject with the utmost respect. The Sentinelese people are an indigenous group with a right to their culture, their land, and their way of life. They've survived on North Sentinel for thousands of years, living in total isolation from the outside world. There's a fine line when it comes to discussing isolated tribes like the Sentinelese, because while curiosity about these groups can lead to fascinating exploration and understanding, it's also important to acknowledge that they have chosen to remain isolated, and we have to honor that choice. Many of the stories surrounding the island involve outsiders, including anthropologists, missionaries, and explorers who've tried to contact the tribe, often with disastrous consequences. We don't know exactly what life is like for the Sentinelese people because they've made it clear they want to remain undisturbed. As we explore the mystery of North Sentinel, let's remember that the very essence of their society is built on remaining unseen, untouched, and disconnected from the modern world. It's vital to respect their wishes and their way of life, as difficult as it may be for some of us to understand. Okay, now that we've gotten the disclaimer out of the way, let's get into what makes North Sentinel Island so fascinating. The island itself is about 23 square miles in size, which isn't very large, but it's surrounded by coral reefs, making it incredibly difficult to access. The Sentinelese live on the island in total isolation, without any modern technology or infrastructure. They live in small, temporary shelters made from wood and leaves, and their diet consists mainly of fish, fruits, and whatever they can forage from the land. Despite their complete lack of modern technology, the Sentinelese have been able to survive for thousands of years on their own terms. They hunt with bows and arrows, and their society is organized in a way that allows them to thrive without outside influence. What's even more fascinating is that they have been completely resistant to contact with the outside world. Whenever outsiders try to approach, they respond with aggression. Armed with bows and arrows, they've successfully driven away anyone who tries to make contact. The Indian government has made multiple attempts to make peaceful contact, but each attempt has been met with violence, which has led them to establish a protection zone around the island, prohibiting anyone from getting too close. But why are they so hostile toward outsiders? Well, that's something we don't fully understand, and honestly, we may never know. The Sentinelese have never allowed us to witness their inner world, and that's part of what makes their culture so mysterious. Some anthropologists believe that their hostility stems from a deep-rooted fear of outsiders, perhaps because of past encounters with other groups that brought disease, violence, or exploitation to their land. The Sentinelese have no immunity to diseases that the outside world has dealt with for centuries, so even a simple cold could wipe out their entire population. The fact that they've remained isolated for so long is likely one of the reasons they've been able to maintain their way of life. It's also possible that their hostility is just a natural response to the unfamiliar. Imagine living in a world where your interactions are limited to your own people and your only contact with outsiders is hostile. Wouldn't you also become defensive? The violence we've seen from them isn't about aggression for the sake of aggression. It's their way of protecting their way of life, their land, and their health. Another fascinating aspect of North Sentinel is the questions it raises about the ethics of exploration and human curiosity. Over the years, there have been multiple expeditions to the island. In some cases, these expeditions were initiated by people who were genuinely curious about the Sentinelese and wanted to learn more about their culture. In other cases, the missions were driven by a more exploitative mindset, such as missionaries attempting to convert the Sentinelese or anthropologists looking to study them for scientific purposes. These interactions have almost always ended poorly. The most infamous of these encounters occurred in 2006, when two fishermen illegally ventured too close to the island and were killed by the Sentinelese. The Indian government responded by banning all further attempts to contact the tribe, which led to the establishment of a no-contact zone around the island. But even beyond the legal barriers, we have to ask ourselves, should we as outsiders be trying to make contact with the Sentinelese at all? There are ethical concerns here, and we have to consider whether it's right to disturb a culture that has chosen to remain untouched by the modern world. Some argue that it's important to let these tribes remain undisturbed, while others believe that making contact could bring benefits, such as providing them with health care or education. But what happens when the risks outweigh the potential benefits? This is a question that's not easily answered. So, what does the future hold for North Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people? The truth is, we don't know. The Indian government has made it clear that they will continue to protect the island and its inhabitants by enforcing a strict no-contact policy. This is a crucial move to ensure the tribe's survival and prevent any more tragedy. However, there are always concerns about illegal poaching, tourism, and the potential for outsiders to disrupt the island's delicate balance. As time goes on, more and more people are beginning to recognize the value of preserving indigenous cultures like the Sentinelese, not for the sake of exploration or discovery, but for the sake of their own autonomy and survival. The future of North Sentinel is one of uncertainty, but if we respect the tribe's wishes and allow them to live in peace, it's possible that their way of life will continue for generations to come, free from the influence of modern society. And that's the story of North Sentinel Island. It's a place that's both haunting and beautiful in its isolation, a symbol of human resilience, cultural preservation, and the complex relationship between the modern world and the tribes that still exist outside of it. I hope this video has given you a deeper understanding of the mystery behind North Sentinel, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the ethics of interacting with uncontacted tribes? Should they remain untouched, or is there a place for them in the modern world? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most isolated places on Earth, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this video with anyone who's fascinated by hidden parts of the world. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.